Hi, my name is Casey Affleck. You might have seen me before in films, but today I'm not here as an actor, but as a person concerned about how animals, especially farm animals, are now treated in the United States. We visited many schools and talked with many boys and girls about your age. Our first question to them was, describe how you imagine a farm. How do you think animals live there?
They just walk around and do whatever they want and live like how they want to live. They have big space to run around in.
A place with no gates, no nothing, it is free.
Most people, children and adults, think like these kids do. The pictures of animals on farms that we see show us happy, healthy animals running around in open spaces, eating the fresh grass from wavy green pastures, and peacefully sleeping inside nice-looking red-painted barns. But sadly, the reality of the modern farm industry is quite different from these beautiful images. In order to make the most money, farmers want to raise the most animals. They do this by keeping as many animals as they can in the smallest possible space. Farmers pack the animals in dark, huge warehouses where the animals don't have enough space or any of the things they need to live a natural life. Driving on the highway, you would never guess that a building like this one is in fact considered a farm. These buildings are called factory farms. Millions of animals live in these crowded, unnatural conditions every day of their lives, enduring what many people feel is abusive treatment. That's why Farm Sanctuary was created. To save animals from abuse, as well as to educate people about this hidden situation. A place where farm animals can run around, smell the fresh air, and live their natural lives in peace. Hey, here's Winnie. Pigs are amazing animals. But before I say too much, let's see what some of you think about them.
Pigs are very smelly.
Nasty and dirty.
Disgusting.
Stupid because usually they just sit around, they're lazy and stuff.
Pigs, they're really not intelligent because they just stand there honking and eat.
That's what many people think about pigs, but that's just because people don't know much about them. Most of us only know pigs as bacon, pepperoni, or ham. We don't get to meet them while they're alive. Let me tell you a few things about pigs. They like to live in groups with their families and friends. They love their families and will look after and defend each other. They constantly make sounds to communicate with each other, even singing to their newborn piglets. Just because we humans do not understand pig talk does not mean that pigs don't communicate. They love to play around and they are friendly to people too. They like to be petted and will happily roll over for belly rubs. Unlike what most people think, pigs are very clean animals if given a chance and will never soil their sleeping areas. Sure, they like to roll in mud, but there are very good reasons for that. Pigs cannot sweat, so they bathe in mud to stay cool and to protect their skins from sunburn and insect bites. Pretty smart, don't you think? Some people say pigs are even smarter than dogs. She's happy now at Farm Sanctuary and enjoys the company of her friends and all the visitors who come to the farm. But her story could have been totally different. Listen to this. When she was just a baby, she escaped from a backyard barbecue where she was going to be slaughtered and roasted for a Father's Day picnic. Winnie managed to avoid capture for almost 2 months, slipping out of a rope, breaking out of a dog trap, and disappearing when police cars came looking for her. She survived by knocking over garbage cans, drinking out of a stream, and eating apples that fell from trees. She warmed the hearts of the town's residents. Finally, when she was captured, people made a fuss, insisting that she be given a safe place to live, which is how she ended up here at Farm Sanctuary. Winnie spends most of the day with her friend Buster, swimming in the pond, rolling in the mud, and sleeping in the shade. Winnie is one smart and lucky pig, believe me. She knew what was in store for her and split the scene. Wouldn't you have done the same thing? Unfortunately, all of these wonderful qualities of the pigs don't protect them from the stresses of factory farms. There, many female pigs have to spend nearly their whole lives in narrow crates all by themselves. unable even to turn around, just so they can keep producing piglets. Other pigs are so crowded together that they start biting each other's tails and ears out of frustration. None of them get to see the sunlight, swim in a pond, or dig in the dirt like normal pigs in nature. The factory farming system does not think of pigs as animals capable of feeling pain or having emotions. How do you think they feel?
Really, really bad. Very crowded, squished, and mad. I think they feel pain. They're just stuck there. There's nowhere to move. It looks like it's suffering, and it's not in a good home because it's stuck in that little cage.
Millions of pigs all over the country are living like this right now. Can you imagine how the mother pigs, called sows, feel when their piglets are taken away just a few weeks after they're born? This is done so that piglets can be raised to make bacon and hot dogs, and the mothers can be made pregnant again and again to make more and more piglets. Instead of raising their families and playing in the sunshine, the pigs are simply part of the business of factory farming. Later, we'll talk about what we can do to change that. Hey, here's Tic Tac. Chickens are very curious creatures. They like to explore their surroundings and use their beaks to peck the soil searching for food. Chickens have excellent vision, and they are smart enough to recognize many other chickens in their very organized social groups. At night, they like to fly up to branches of trees or bushes to sleep. This is called roosting, and is a way to protect themselves from other animals. Chickens who feel safe are very friendly, even with humans. In fact, some people keep chickens as companions, along with their dogs and cats, and they all manage to get along quite well. They also use their beaks for grooming and dust bathing. Using sand and dust, they remove the oil that builds up on their feathers. That's how they keep their feathers clean and fluffy. But unfortunately, very few chickens can take dust baths anymore. Every year in the United States, about 300 million hens provide Americans with eggs. Most of these chickens live crowded together in small cages stacked on top of each other in dark, smelly, noisy warehouses. Each warehouse holds around 80,000 hens. 80,000. Imagine what that must sound and smell like. These chickens can't even spread their wings, let alone build nests, or roost in the branches of trees, or play, or peck in the dirt with their beaks. When chickens are overcrowded, they get stressed, and they peck each other. Rather than being given more space to move around, the chickens have their beaks partially cut off. Instead of standing on dirt, these cages, called battery cages, have wire mesh flooring that hurts the chickens' feet. They develop all kinds of diseases and deformities because of the conditions in which they live.
I didn't know that they were kept like this in a small cage like that. I never knew that. Very sad. And it hurts. Especially when you're taking off the nose.
Who would have the right mind to just keep these animals like that? He's like he has no feelings for others.
It doesn't look like a very good life for a chicken, but it doesn't have to be like this. Compare how the chickens in these factory farms live with Tic Tac's life. What a difference. Not so long ago, most chickens used to live like Tic Tac does now. But then the factory farming system came into being, and egg production became a big business. It became more important to produce as many eggs as possible in the least amount of space than to show concern for the suffering of the chickens. In fact, Tic Tac used to live in one of these places until she was rescued and brought to Farm Sanctuary. You want to know her story? Tic Tac would have spent her whole life trapped in a cage laying eggs for humans to eat. Then a tornado struck 12 of these warehouses, leaving the buildings wrecked and the hens trapped in mangled wire cages without food or water. Farm Sanctuary and other rescue groups went to the egg farm and began the difficult task of cutting the birds out of their cages and bringing them back to the sanctuary to take care of them. Tic Tac, along with 1,500 others, were some of the lucky ones who were rescued and now live here in this open, safe sanctuary. Here's Queenie. I'll tell you her story, but first, let's learn some interesting facts about cows. Cows are sensitive and social animals who like to know what's going on around them and often communicate with the other members of their herd. Their senses of smell and hearing are excellent. They are very responsive to the way they are treated and can remember both good and bad experiences for years. Mother cows have especially strong feelings toward their calves. Even though they may babysit for several playful calves while the other mothers graze, each mother knows which one is uniquely her own. Many cows even show affection and loyalty for humans.
We should treat them the same way we want to be treated.
And they need to be in a big field with grass.
I think that every animal should have freedom because we have freedom. Why can't they have freedom?
Yes, I'll bet that's what all cows would like to have. But unfortunately, most cows in today's factory farms have very little freedom. That's why Queenie ran away. Let's see what you think of her story. When she was a young 500-pound cow, Queenie escaped from a meat market in New York City. She ran through the streets of Queens, surprising motorists and passers-by alike. The police finally tranquilized her and gave her to the city animal shelter. Many people made calls asking the city and the owner of the slaughterhouse not to turn Queenie into steaks, but to let her go to Farm Sanctuary. Queenie made national news with her escape, making it clear that animals have feelings too, and showing why many people choose not to eat them. She now lives happily with her new friends at Farm Sanctuary. If Queenie hadn't first been sold to the meat market, she might have been used in the dairy industry as a milker. Many people think that cows give milk simply because they are cows, but that's not the case. Just like humans, cows are mammals, so they must give birth in order to start giving milk. And modern technology has caused dairy cows to produce up to 100 pounds of milk a day, about 10 times more than they would produce in nature. And if that weren't stressful enough, mother cows used in the dairy industry also have to deal with having their calves taken away from them, often the very day they are born. The dairy industry makes sure that each cow has a calf every single year. If a cow is a female, she will be raised to replace her mother, keeping the cycle of being trapped, having babies, and giving milk going. If the calf is a male, he will be immediately taken away and chained in a narrow crate, too narrow for him even to turn around, and raised to be killed after 4 or 5 months for his soft white meat called veal. The meat stays white because the calf is given a liquid milk substitute which contains no iron or fiber. This diet causes anemia, making the calf very weak and prone to diseases. About 1 million of these babies every year end up in crates being raised for play with other calves. This method of raising calves in crates is considered cruel by many people. In fact, many countries have already made it against the law. The veal industry argues that there is a demand for this type of veal. We asked some students how they felt about it.
I feel sorry for cows because when they take them away from their children, they can't only stay with them for only 2 days, and that's not right. I think they feel sad because they want to be with their mother and they don't want to go in their cages so they can't move, and they want to be with their mother so they can live happy.
I think they're not very happy there. So why should we be a part of it?
We could turn into vegetarian, but still eat less and less meat.
Many people think that if you don't eat meat and eggs or drink milk, you'll get weak or even sick. This is hardly ever true. There are millions of people who do not eat meat or eggs or drink milk, yet stay very strong and healthy. Of course, you need a proper balanced diet with vitamins, minerals, proteins, and all the rest. But you can get all of those things in other products that you can find in most supermarkets. Obviously, as we have seen, we would spare the animals a lot of suffering. But we could also help keep our environment cleaner. The environment? Yes, here's how it works. In order to raise animals for food, we have to grow huge amounts of corn and other grains to feed them and use enormous amounts of water, not just for the animals to drink, but also to grow the grain they eat. This is very wasteful of our precious water supply, and it's not a very efficient way to grow food for the world's growing population. Let me give you an example. Let's say I have 12 pounds of corn and 12 pounds of wheat, and I want to feed as many people as possible. With the 12 pounds of corn, I could make 54 bowls of cornflakes. With the 12 pounds of wheat, I could make 12 loaves of bread. Or I could take 12 pounds of either grain and feed it to a cow. If that cow were then ground up into hamburger, guess how much meat I would get back from my 12 pounds of grain? Only 1 pound. So we could definitely feed a lot more people if we ate the grain directly rather than feeding it to cows. In fact, 80%, or 4/5, of all the corn we raise in the United States is eaten by animals. One problem is that we have to cut down millions and millions of trees to make room for all this farming, destroying homes of birds and forest animals in the process. And to make things worse, with all this industrial farming comes heavy use of pesticides, chemicals, and fertilizers, which make their way into our streams and rivers and sometimes into our drinking water. The good news is we can change all this. We need to let our legislators know how we feel so that laws concerning the treatment of animals can be changed. And every time we sit down to eat, we can help by changing our diets, even if it's just a little bit.
I would talk to the governor and tell him if we could have a vote to see who wants them to be free.
And we could give them better pastures. And we don't have to keep them cooped up in little pens.
I think that we could go to the chicken place, the farms, and tell them by face, like, stop doing this to other animals. We could tell the cafeteria people not to give us meat or anything like that.
Every day I eat meat, most of the time. Now I only eat meat like once a week, twice.
Those are all very good ideas. And you know what? They can work. If enough people speak out and get involved, laws do change. In Florida, for example, a lot of people were upset about the narrow crates where mother pigs were kept while they were pregnant. As a result, they got a law passed outlawing those crates. So why not discuss with your friends, teachers, and parents what you have seen in this video? Perhaps you can write letters to your senators, representatives, and governor expressing your feelings. And to get more information about any of the subjects we have been discussing, please visit Farm Sanctuary's website at farmsanctuary.org. Together, we can make a difference.